Welcome to the Lady Up America podcast. I'm Diane Canada, your host. I'm so glad you're here today. Ladies, today it is Tuesday. It's May 14th, and I've got a special guest in the studio with me today. I'm going to introduce you today to a very good friend of mine. His name is Chad Bobo, and he is running for State House of Representatives in District 60. We're going to sit down today and we're going to have a really great conversation with him. I want you to get to know him. I want you to understand better what it is to run for State House. As many of you know, I ran for that back in 2020, and hopefully answer any questions or fill in any blanks that you might have. All right, so we'll be right back with Chad Bobo.
Around this town, lady up around this town, victory on the battleground, we claim it now. Lady up, lady up. Lady up, lady up.
All right, ladies, thanks so much for joining me, and I can't wait for you to meet Chad. He and I have a lot of history together politically, and we've just become good friends over the last few years. He was a big help to me in my campaign. We've knocked a lot of doors together in different states, and now I love that he stepped up to run. So y'all please meet my friend, Chad Bobo. Hey, Chad.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yes.
So happy to have you. I would love, before we dig into your campaign and all of that, I'd love for us to just first answer the question, what is the day in the life of a state representative actually like? What does that look like?
That is a great question. Seeing that I've worked in the State House for a while, had an opportunity to work with the Speaker and just seeing how it worked with other state reps. They are very, very busy. So this is in particular during session.
Yeah.
Where it's the process of making laws.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are busy from sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning, where they can have committee meetings till late at night, 9, 10, 11, 12.
So it's not working within an 8 to 5 day at all.
No, this is not in any way an 8 to 5 for a House rep. So they have to work with other House representatives as well. There's a lot of research involved in in making those bills. So you have staff to help you with that. And in the middle of all of that, they're still meeting with people in the community, business people, other elected officials, whether they be local, state, or from the U.S. Government. So they are very, very busy. And so everything has to be according to a schedule. And so they live from that schedule.
Yeah. And I want to talk about like what they're busy doing. So like, I know a lot of moms might look at this and go, why do we need more laws? We got plenty of laws. And what I heard Senator Mark Pody, who's a friend, I heard him say recently, we don't need any more laws. Like he likes to go back and maybe refine the ones we have, or maybe revisit some ones that maybe could come off the books. So when we say that they're making laws, like what does that actually mean? Or what does that actually look like, on the day-to-day level? Like a bill, like how, a bill becomes a law, how?
Wow. Well, there's a lot of research with that. And it all starts with the idea that a House representative is trying to solve a particular problem that has been brought to them, either by a group, or they've seen something that happened maybe in another area of the state, or maybe even in another state. And they're trying to make sure that issue gets solved, or there's something put in place for that if there becomes an issue here, or if it is something concerning. And no one has brought that to attention, bringing that to attention, and going through the process of doing a lot of background as it relates to, are there local statutes? Are there any other state laws or statutes that are related to that? Taken it to committee, and then getting it voted out of committee into the floor. So there's a whole process that goes with that. And
idea.
And it takes several months for that to happen.
Yeah. So it's like that problem that we're trying to solve kind of goes on a journey of its own before it gets to the floor to be actually voted on. And there are people coming to you from all different walks of life, right? Like the medical community, and then the political community, and then you've got,
criminal justice.
Yes. I mean, we worked through that last year on
healthcare, schooling, safety in schools.
Yeah. You've got so many people coming. And so I want ladies to understand that you're there to serve. So you are approachable. Very. A state representative is very approachable. If someone wanted to reach out, if they've got a problem that they want to bring your attention to when you get elected, because we're praying that into existence, when you get elected, if someone wants to bring you a problem, like what's the right protocol for them to reach you and be able to have a 5 or 10 minute meeting with you to sit down and present that?
Well, at that time, I'm going to have a state email. Also, I will have a legislative assistant. So everything will be scheduled that way so that we won't have a logjam. And meeting with constituents is just, it's expected. And it's also a way for legislators to stay connected with their community. So it is always a good thing to do that.
You welcome that.
Yes.
And so it's a good segue to kind of talk about before you decided to throw your hat in the ring.
Yes.
You were actually overseeing constituent services for our Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton. Yeah. And so you really got a front row seat to the day in the life of legislators. Can you speak on that for a minute, and then also kind of give listeners an idea of what Speaker Sexton's day in the life looks like?
It was, yes, it was probably one of the best positions that I've held, period. I enjoy the idea of someone having an issue that I can either help solve or show them that, hey, this is the natural process of where you are right now. But being in a position to help as many people as we could, and all of it, I didn't want any of the accolades from it. I mean, it was a part of my job, and so the speaker chose me to do that because he saw that was something that I would probably be very good at, and I was. Yeah,
you were great at it. Well, you have a heart for service, which is one of the reasons why I think you're going to be so great in this role. I want to go down that road in just a second, but I want to back up for a minute, because when we talk about people coming to you, there's one of the things on the protocol issue that I want to share with ladies is that people are fired up, right? They're passionate about their issues. And, a lot of times they feel like they kind of have to come in, like they know you're busy. They're trying all these resourceful ways to get your attention. So maybe on that protocol, if we could park there for just a second, what is the best way to approach you, even when they're really fired up or passionate, or they feel like it's a very urgent situation? Everything's urgent on Capitol Hill, right?
Yes, everything is.
So maybe giving them some perspective on that.
Well, it always helps to have your thoughts clear.
Yeah.
And so, if you're looking for someone to help you, then make sure that they have all the information that they need. And sometimes that didn't happen. And so, you have to ask so many questions after that to make sure that you have all the information you need before you go and talk to someone at TDOT or before you go and, speak with one of the congressman's office and things of that nature. So just gathering as much information as you can.
Yeah. Doing the homework, behind the topic. And so when you bring it, you've got, you've got it in coming in with a stack of papers this high, right?
Yes.
You've got it in kind of an order, and you're giving the highlights. And then if that if it's going to go deeper than that, then you can give more information later. But I
Sure.
think it's just, being considerate of the fact that they're juggling 100 things.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, people are so passionate and you love that and you don't want to squash that, but you don't want to squash that fire. But at the same time, just understanding that you're getting hit like that all day long.
Regularly. Yes.
Regularly. So just a little compassion for you.
That and most of the issues, if not all the issues that I dealt with, all of them were run by the speaker. So he kept in touch with his constituents in his district, and if there were issues going to other, because we would get calls from all over the state. So if we needed to make sure that they went to other legislators, because next year when I become a legislator, God's will, I want to make sure that our district is taken care of, but I want to know about it. So I in the position that I just left, I was doing the same thing. So I would speak with either the other legislators, LA, or directly to them to let them know what the situation was. So communication was key.
Yeah. And LA meaning legislative assistant. Yeah.
Thank
I know.
you.
I mean, again, I know some of you are probably insulting your intelligence and others of you just went, thank you, Diane. I didn't know what you meant.
Sorry about that.
No, it's, I think it's so important. I want women to really understand, and I want them to be able to appreciate the position that you're in, to be able to approach you, to feel comfortable approaching you and any of their legislators. So talk to us about the speaker's office. Like when you were there, why is he, what duties does he have that a traditional legislator does not?
Wow. Being the Speaker of the House is he probably wouldn't say this, but I'm sure it felt like some days it was herding cats. But he was good at it. He is good at it. And has held a lot of respect from other legislators and people in government. So his day normally starts earlier than most, because simply because the amount of meetings that would have to fit into one day.
Yeah.
And so you can pick any day of session, and he could have probably 15, 20 meetings a day.
Wow.
And that's not including, if they had, if there was, some place you had to leave the Cordell Hall and then go to Cordell Hall is the legislative building, and go to some other area of the state.
Yeah. Yeah.
So very, very busy. Very
busy. Yeah. And so he is kind of our Tennessee state equivalent of Mike Johnson at the federal level.
Yes.
So he's kind of responsible for what bills get called to the floor too. And so committee, as when someone comes with a problem, you decide in constituent services that you're going to kind of start that journey of that bill,
yes.
Then you present it to other people, you start to get weigh in, research all of that. Then it goes into committees. There might be several committees that it gets in front of before then.
Yes.
Speaker Sexton would decide to bring it to the floor. And so then once it's brought to the floor, do you have any insight on how bills get chosen to come to the floor or not? I mean, I know probably some of it depends on history.
It's a more of a, as it relates to what bills come to the floor, there's a committee that does that. So it's not just his not just his decision. And I think he likes it that way because he wants as much input from other legislators as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a group effort.
Yes.
Not just him being, on the hot seat of choosing.
Right. Well, that, and, he also, just the time that I've had a chance to know him, wants the credit to go to whoever it needs to go to. So
that's good. So as a representative, when you're in that process of bringing a bill, forward, you have co-sponsors, you have other legislators that you'll team up with.
Yes.
And both in the House and in the Senate, because it's got to go through both chambers,
yes.
right? Before it gets, before it becomes law. So it's really important that you're able to win the buy-in
yes.
of other people. So tell us about your buy-in skills.
Wow. Well, I mean, even when you're looking to get things passed, in most cases, you need to have it broad enough to where you could have those conversations with people, and based on those conversations with whether it's um, a House member or Senate, uh, the two can kind of craft that so that it could pass both houses. So it's just being open to not always getting exactly what you want, but getting as close to it as you possibly can.
Yeah. It's without compromising values. Yes. And I know that's something that's really important to you.
Sure.
Is to never compromise your values. And I know a lot of legislators are in tough positions because they're representing in the district.
Sure.
But that district also elected them. So it's like that fine line between your values and representing the values of your district.
Right.
So how would you kind of balance that, do you think?
Wow. That's a really good question, because you want to be able to sleep at night. So having the patience and getting as much buy-in in your district as you possibly can before bringing something before other members of the House is very important. And there may be certain things that that may not be because you don't have to be conflicted with your values on certain things. There may just be something that you disagree with. And if that's the case, then that doesn't mean that bill is a bad bill. It just means that there may be something that you just disagree with. And so there's a difference there. And being able to have conversations with as many people in your district really helps comb the two and make sure that you're not going against your district, but also not going against your values.
Yeah. And I know you are so measured in what I believe you would be an incredibly measured legislator in that way. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your campaign.
Okay.
I want people to really get a good sense of who you are today, because District 60. So let's explain districts.
Okay.
Because again, that was something that I didn't understand for you. I just was so, oh my gosh,
I get that.
I was so green, Chad. You walked alongside of me in the early days. And before we went on the air, Chad said, well, you wouldn't have been able to tell. Well, I mean, I must have done a pretty good acting job.
You were great. You were great.
Thank you. I felt so a fish out of water. But districts are redrawn every 10 years. And we just had a redrawing of the districts, and it's very controversial because a lot of people they call it gerrymandering. A lot of people, you'll hear that term. What they're basically trying to do is as more people are moving in, we get a census, then they're trying to determine, they're trying to break it up in a fair way where there's where each area, each district is representative, so of the people who live there, but yet, it's not biased one way or the other. That's the goal. So let's talk about your district. So 60 is encompassing Donaldson area, Hermitage, and then Old Hickory.
Yes.
So who was in the seat before? I think he's retiring out, right? He took another position.
Wonderful guy. His name is Darren Jernigan, who I've gone to his office several times and had conversations with him. Is one of the nicest people that you like to work with.
That's good.
Yeah.
And he is a Democrat?
Yes.
But so he's more of a moderate.
Yes.
Sounds like more of a moderate Democrat.
Yes.
Has some, is real open to civil conversation and all that. So just because, and that's the other thing that I saw too when I spent a lot of time up there on Capitol Hill, is that, and even my opponent was Bob Freeman.
Okay.
And I would not agree with him in the way he votes.
Sure.
But we got along great.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean just because someone's on the other side of the aisle that they are the enemy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So he's taking another position. So the seat is opening up.
Yes.
He's been there a while, from what I can understand.
12 years, I think.
12 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you stepped up to run.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like at least another one or two other Republicans are stepping up to run.
Uh-huh.
One.
Yes.
Okay. And then we've got a few, how many, two Democrats that are going to step
3,
up?
I think.
3 now?
Yes.
Okay. So everybody's going to be vying for that seat.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about why you ran, why you decided to run.
One of the reasons why I decided to run, because I think this will be probably one of the very few times that I decide to offer my services to the community in this manner.
Mm-hmm. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I had to step down from my position with the state in order to run. So yes, it is a big deal. It's a big deal to me, and that's how important it is to me. Another reason why I decided to run, because I wanted to make sure that Davidson County has some conservative representation in the House.
Mm-hmm.
And as of right now, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so that'll allow someone to have a conversation with Nashville Mayor,
Mm-hmm.
who I've met a couple of times. Very, very cordial, by the way.
Good. That's good to know.
And also, it'll be another opportunity for the state to pick up another seat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is really important.
Yes.
Davidson County was the county my race was in too.
Okay.
And that was, a lot of people kind of write Davidson County off. They're like, oh, it's just gone all blue.
Yes.
There's no reason for a Republican to step up and run. But I don't think that's the case. I think we have to keep running.
Yes. Well, also, I think people, the reason why that it's the way that it is because because it's been chopped up into so many different local seats,
mm-hmm.
to where it's, a lot of people feel that it's difficult for someone to win even on the state level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
We have a lot of whether they're conservative Democrats or Republicans in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure that they get represented as well.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Let's talk for a minute about the difference in state politics and federal politics, because I know a lot of people that, we watch Fox News, we watch whatever, wherever you get your news source, and you think that those are all the things that go on in your state capital too. And it's not the case.
No.
So if you can just maybe draw some distinctions between federal and state issues.
Well, yes, most of your laws that are written in the U.S. Congress, they are blanket laws over all 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
And also those laws are a reflection of what our government, how they will deal with other countries as well.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to, and this is speaking from, say, 30,000 feet up. On the state level, it's more of making laws that affect local areas. So, not necessarily that there are certain laws that or statutes that are written that only affect, say, a part of a district,
mm-hmm.
but in general, if someone writes a law and it's voted in, it affects our state and not other states.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I loved recent. So let's just maybe give some examples.
Sure.
Like in this last session. So let's explain real quick about session.
Okay.
Y'all come back in January after
Yes.
the holidays.
Mhm.
So it runs January through roughly May.
Roughly May. For the most part, we try to be done toward the end of April, but
Mhm.
first part of May.
Yeah. Which means that then our legislators go back to their normal lives. So we're not year-round legislators here.
Right.
Although y'all could get called back in for a special session.
Yes.
And so that's happened a
Mhm.
lot. That happened last year. The governor might call, or the speaker might call everyone back into session for a particular vote on maybe one or a few issues. So when you're in session and we're talking about state laws that are getting passed, one of the things that I saw recently is the Title IX, and I know this is really on the minds of a lot of moms, making sure that we protect women's sports and women in general.
Sure.
The Women's Bill of Rights, things like that. So
Mhm.
that was. Can you speak to that for just a sec and maybe explain what that was and how that went down, and then maybe we'll talk about a couple of other examples.
Well, just to, I guess, back up just a little bit, right before session was out, the shouldn't say the federal government, I should say the executive branch,
Mm-hmm.
wrote some statutes that kind of lumped boys and girls together,
Mm-hmm.
and basically tore apart Title IX.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as it relates here in Tennessee, yes, we have written some laws that separate boys and girls in our sports.
Mm-hmm.
But so something that we don't want to do is make laws, and because something might happen,
Mm-hmm.
and that may not happen, and something else happens, so we have to write another law.
Right.
So I think to be wise in the situation, we need to wait and see where it goes based on the laws that we already have.
Mm-hmm.
And then if something needs to change, then we can look at changing that or adding to it or
Mm-hmm.
making it stronger,
Yeah.
something of that nature.
And that's a case kind of where what was going on at the federal level
Yes.
kind of bled over into the state level. So we in Tennessee, we're trying to protect women here and
Yes.
making sure that we know what a woman is.
Right.
And that we're
Right.
not letting boys and girls bathrooms and that kind of stuff. So y'all were able to make sure at least in Tennessee, that we're protected from such
Yes.
nonsense like that. But maybe another example of a state law. Let's talk about your platform, and that will maybe be a good place to pull from.
Okay.
Because some state issues that you're really concerned about are transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's speak to that, for a minute, and then let's go down the list of your platform topics.
Sure.
These are going to be the things that are state focused and not federal focused.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things in my district is we have some great roads in our district now, but I do feel that as it relates to having more businesses come to our area, having being able to, I should say, handle more
Mm-hmm.
traffic because
Mm-hmm.
we do get a lot.
Yeah.
I think at some point in time we may need to look at widening some of those roads. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's in one particular district, one particular area of my district, there are some local councilmen who are really looking at cleaning up and doing a lot of things so that they can have that option to bring more businesses to their district.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the state level, we'll be looking at different ways to see how we can support them
Mm-hmm.
as much as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Tell us about the other items on your platform.
Well, some of the other items is really important to families who don't necessarily want their kids to go to 4 years of college, and they want their kids to start working as soon as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So looking more into vocational options for children, starting early as possible, to be honest with you, so that by the time they graduate high school,
Mm-hmm.
that there's not a huge lag
Yeah.
in their in them getting started in their life.
So would that mean building more vocational schools, or would that mean redirecting?
Well, building more vocational schools, but also looking to see what industries that we have in the district already,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's being a machinist, whether there's been a carpenter, whether there's been a brick mason.
Such a need for these
Yes.
skills. Yeah.
Men and women who build things. We need more of them.
Yeah. So maybe they can go do like apprenticeships or
Yes.
internships, things like that. That would be give them hands-on experience.
Yes.
And
hands-on experience, but also being electricians. I know that's a process. It takes years to master that. But the earlier that they can start in the right environment, will get us more of those types of people building here in Tennessee.
I love that. That's so important. And I don't see a lot of legislators focused on that, so that's really unique to you, at least from my view. What other things are important to you on your platform?
Well, those are two of the most important, but I also want to look at strengthening some of our criminal justice laws. I want to make sure that we have people who, when it's time for them to go to jail, that they stay longer than what's happening in a lot of our larger cities. So this idea of people here in Tennessee having to wonder whether or not the streets are safe.
Yeah. We don't like that.
No.
We moms don't like that.
No. Fathers don't either, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We do not. So making sure that we do more to keep our streets safe. And keeping our streets safe also means having safe schools.
Yeah.
So I like a lot of the ideas that our legislators brought forth this year. One in particular was making sure that we have an SRO in the schools.
Yeah.
And so to continue that, and make sure that we see our children as our they're really our gift to the world.
They're our pride and joy.
Yes.
One of the bills that came forward, I think it has become law, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Governor Lee signed it, was arming teachers in the classrooms. But when I was recently with Senator Dawn White, and she came and spoke for our Nashville Republican Women's Club. And she was explaining, I asked her about this because a lot of the moms out there who watch are really concerned about teachers having firearms. And they're concerned because of that teacher potentially getting overpowered by one of the students and then getting a hold of that gun.
Sure.
And so she had explained to me that these teachers have to go through extensive licensing and training.
Sure.
And that no one in the school is to know that they're carrying. Only the principal's supposed to know. There are just a lot of safeguards that were put in place. So these are the kinds of things that happen at the state level.
So when and I get that when this first came up, it was almost as if we harken back to our cartoon days where you had Yosemite Sam coming through like this, and it was nothing like that. You had a lot of schools who were a lot of rural schools, and they may have a very small police force, or there may be a very small sheriff's department there as well, and it may be a long time before someone could get to those schools. So that was one of the main concerns that some of our constituents wanted to have addressed.
Yeah. And if it was your child in that classroom and a mass shooter came in, you would be grateful if someone was able to stop them.
Yes.
While police were on the way. Yeah. In these smaller towns like here, I live up in a northern county of Nashville. We're Nashville vicinity, but we're up here a little bit. We're up the hill. It would take a few minutes, for somebody to get up here to us. And
it's a steep hill, by the way.
Yeah, we're up here in the boonies now. Chad comes out and he's like, I forgot how much in the boonies here. But it's good. It was funny because when I was thinking about moving out here with Brian, it was a very quick decision for us. My husband's mom, Miss Martha, she needed us. And, when your family needs you, you just drop everything and you go.
That's right.
But I was talking with our majority leader in the House, William Lambert, who's become a really dear friend. And he lives in the boonies too. And he was telling me, he's like, Diane, you're going to love it. And he said, it's like you get out of the city, you get out of Nashville. It's like going to your oasis. It's like your sanctuary out there, which it so is. The stars at night, you can see them. It's wonderful living out here. But then he told me, so he's got a few children. And I think two, and they've got basically a petting zoo in their backyard, and he was telling me, he says, get out there, get settled, and let me know when you're ready for chickens, and I'll give you some chickens. So oftentimes when I see him, he's like, are you ready for those chickens?
Yeah, I can hear him saying that. Yes.
I'm like, I'm good.
Yes.
I'm good. I'm still settling in. I'm not quite ready.
Give him another 5 years or so.
My next door neighbor has them.
Okay.
And I can hear him over there click. I think it would be nice to have fresh eggs in the morning.
Sure.
But these rural counties, we do have different things to consider than when you're in a suburb or in the city.
Yes.
Most of my moms are suburb moms.
Okay.
So, when we're talking about representation in the House, you want somebody who understands these things. Like you want somebody who is looking out for not just the city or the rural people, but also the suburbs.
Sure.
There's a lot of things on these moms' minds, and I think even in your district, I'm sure there are a lot of suburban moms out there. So what can you say to them that might ease their mind in some areas? Maybe some laws that are on the books that haven't quite, or some bills that are on the books that haven't quite become law yet. What are some things kind of simmering up there in the House that may affect suburban moms? Anything at all come to mind?
Nothing yet comes to mind as it relates to, and I hate to give it a definitive, but I would just like to say that there are a lot of parents and grandparents and great grandparents who are serving in our House, and their goal, and it would be my goal as well, is to make sure that not only our families are safe, that we are serving and passing laws that don't change Tennessee values.
Yeah.
But also we want to make sure that our kids have the best education that we have, knowing that for them to have the best education, they need to be safe.
Yeah.
And so those are some of the things that we will be supporting next year. We also want to make sure that we have secure streets, and Tennessee is wide open for business. So I want my district to get as much of that as we possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing about the representatives, is you're there to really kind of cheerlead your district.
Yes.
You're there to, really put in a good word for your district. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. They don't understand that, that you're their champion.
Yes.
And so if you live in Chad's district, if you're in Donaldson or Hermitage or Old Hickory,
yes,
I'm about to give out your phone number. No.
Well, you can give my website.
Yes, let's do that. So is it chadbobo.com?
Yes.
chadbobo.com. And we're going to put it up here for you. You guys go and visit the site and learn a little bit more about these particular issues on the platform that we're talking about here today. One thing that I think would be helpful for people to know, for women to know, is donations.
Yes.
It seems like, with the representatives, you guys serve 2-year terms. And everybody keeps asking me, like, you're going to run again? I'm like, I'm not. I am not planning to run again right now. If God calls me to it again, I would. But I think that was a stepping stone for me to come into this work.
Sure.
But I have full respect for you and for all of our lawmakers. You're always campaigning. So 2-year is the House term, and Senate here in the State House is 4.
Yes.
Right. And
excuse me. It's just the opposite. So you have,
what did I say?
In the House is 2 years.
House is 2 years.
And in the Senate is 4.
Yeah. Senate is 4 years.
Yes.
And then at the federal level, the Senate is 6 years. The
4
Senate,
and 6, huh?
Yeah. 4 and 6. Yeah. So every 2 years, you have to worry about being reelected.
Yes.
So that's kind of the hard part, is balancing campaigning with also focusing on your job.
Yes.
So it feels like to a lot of people out here in the real world that, here they come asking for money again. I think it would be helpful to know where those donations go.
Sure.
Like why do we need to donate? Where does that money end up?
I think it's a great question, and all of the money goes toward the election.
Yeah.
So there's not a pot that helps put pictures on my wall or anything like that. It all
or expensive curtains.
No. I don't even know what that's not even. I'm a guy, so do we need curtains? So anyway, no. The funds go to supporting the campaign,
mm-hmm.
and whether that's helping to support door knockers, signs, getting the message out,
mm-hmm.
All of that cost. It's not cheap, and the longer we have more leftist Democrats in office, we tend to get more expensive with things.
Yeah.
So all of our funds are being spent to get our message out,
mm-hmm.
and also to support the people who are running the different parts of the campaign,
mm-hmm.
because that's their job.
Yeah.
It's just people like me who have to suck that part up.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it prevents somebody, like if you've got a good amount of money behind a campaign,
Sure.
then that prevents that voter going to the voter booth and going, Chad Bobo, I've never heard of him.
Yes.
That's basically what we're trying to get out ahead of.
Yes. So what and that's what I mean when I say get the message out.
Yeah.
It's get the message out to the voters in our district.
Yeah.
And so that when you go to the voting booth, you can make an educated decision as to who you would like to vote for.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that that's Chad Bobo this year if you're in District 60.
Yes. It needs to be Chad Bobo. I can personally vouch for Chad, and you've been nothing but a stand-up guy since I've known you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've enjoyed our friendship.
Yeah, me too. He's always been in my corner. I'm in your corner. And those donations are important. I remember on my campaign, it went toward things like, all the literature, all the stuff that you hang on the door.
Yes.
All that has to be bought by you.
Mm-hmm.
There's maybe you might get a little bit of help from the Republican Party, but that you can't count on that because there's a lot of races that they're trying to help with. So we've got what 95 representatives, in the state house. So, and they're all up for election. Well, I don't know. No, they're not all up for election. Every 2 years. So
are they all? Years? Yeah.
So everybody's on the same cycle. Yeah, everybody's on the same cycle. Duh, Diane. So yeah, they got all these races. And so the Republican Party will sit back and go, okay, what are the most critical races? And they'll put money behind those. But maybe the rest just kind of get a sprinkling.
Yes.
They don't really get a hose, poured on their campaign money wise. So you really are responsible. So all the literature, any buttons people wear, business cards.
And even with the literature, the message that's on the literature, having it printed.
Yeah.
Having it mailed, all of that,
mailing is really expensive.
Yes.
Also commercials, if you decide to run commercials in your district, that you have to pay for all of that.
Yes.
There's so much. And a lot of times the reason why the Democrats beat us so much, or at least they have a better ground game, is because they can pay volunteers.
Yes.
When you have to rely on people doing it out of the goodness of their heart, they have lives and all these things. So if they can't get compensated, then they're more limited on how much they can help. But with good funding, you can actually, pay people to go canvass for you. There's just so much, I think, that people have no idea. But, candidates are not allowed to personally use any of that money.
Right.
So we have strong ethics committees here, and every dime is watched. And so there's a lot to it. So your donations are safe with Chad.
Yes.
And he needs them. And, I think a lot of times people will shy away because they're like, oh, I can't give $500. I can't give, $1,000. But, if you can give 20, those add up.
They do.
If you can go to chadbobo.com right now and donate $20, $50, whatever you're able to do. We know how times are hard right now for people, and we want to be mindful of that. But at the same time, if we want good representatives on Capitol Hill here in Tennessee, we got to cough it up. So that's just the long and short of it.
I can't add anything to that.
So. Yeah. And, we have people that I think would get more involved, Chad, too. Like when it comes to the actual election,
Sure.
Let's go there for just a sec.
Sure.
Things that ladies can do are become poll watchers. They can go and door knock for you. We can have people sign up and volunteer and help you, and other candidates too. What are some other things that women can do to become more active?
Just on the door knocking part, just know that if you're a woman, you will not be knocking doors by yourself.
Right.
That's a rule, and I've adhered to that for at least over a decade now. But some of the other ways that women can help out is when that time comes, making as many phone calls as we possibly can. So, you're like, I've got, 15, 20 minutes here, 15, 20 minutes there. There are several phone calls that you could fit into that time frame over a week's period, and you've put in several hundred phone calls. And so there's an opportunity for that when that time comes, and it's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah. It'll be here before we know it.
Yes.
So one other thing I want to do before I let you go is we just want to explain the election process. And again, being a newbie a few years ago, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this now, but I had no idea what a primary was. I had no idea. And I never voted in one. Now I have, but when you don't know, you just don't know. So a lot of us will show up in November for the general election, but I want to talk about the primary.
Sure.
And I'll let you explain to them, how that works. And then early voting, which we want Republicans to vote early. And then actual election day. So let's talk about the primary for a second. So we're trying to narrow the field.
Right.
And so kind of in your words, I'll let you explain.
Okay. Well, the primary is in the state of Tennessee, and in particular, Davidson County. You have Democrats and Republicans. We didn't have an independent to run this year. So in the primary, you're looking for, if you're a Republican or if you're a Democrat, you're looking to win and get 50 plus 1 vote. So, and whoever gets 50 plus 1 vote goes to the general election, which will be in November this year, November the 5th. And I should back up and say that 2 weeks before each of the elections, whether it's the primary or the general, is when early voting starts. And that's when everything cranks up even more. Yeah. So that primary process is so important. So if you end up against 1 or 2 other Republican candidates for that seat, when you go to the ballot box, when you go to the polling location, they'll give you a ballot and you'll tell them you want either a Republican or a Democrat ballot. And so if you get that Republican ballot, which you will, then only your Republican nominees will be on that ballot. Yes.
So Chad's name would be on there with the other 1 or 2 other candidates.
Yes.
And so you want to click the box that says Chad Bobo. And
yes.
And then if he does win that primary, and then over here, the Democrats are voting, separately. But once you win that, then you go on to the general election. Yeah. And so then that really starts to crank us into serious election season. So really, like, it's a sprint. Like right now, it's a little bit of a jog, leading up to primary. But then between August and really mid-October, when that early voting starts, that's when the sprint really happens. And a lot of times the Republican Party really won't come alongside of you till after the primaries. Certainly not going to put any real money in until then.
Sure.
Because now it's, instead of it being between a few Republicans, now it's between the Republican and the Democrat at the general.
Yes.
So that's what we want to do, is we want to just come alongside of you now, but certainly from August to October. So that's when you were saying when the time comes. So that's what he's referring to, is that sprint period right between there. So then early voting.
Yes.
Let's explain to them a little bit about how early voting works. In your area, you're not having to go to the assigned precinct. You can go to different ones.
Well, and during early voting, in Davidson County, I think there are only maybe 8 or 9 places to early vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my district, everyone goes to the Hermitage Library.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you may meet me there at some point, or someone with one of my T-shirts or one of our
one of the hats
caps on. So we're looking forward to having you. If you have any questions or would like to volunteer, please go to chadbobo.com. There's a link there for you to sign up and volunteer. We'd certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to really need those volunteers. We've done a lot of door knocking together.
Yes.
And, maybe we give people a quick little glimpse of what that looks like. And we've actually gone on the same route several times. Yes. We went down to Georgia and we door knocked for Kelly Loeffler on that Senate race.
Yes.
Then here for Karen Moore and different people. So yeah, you have an app. So let's explain to them how the app works and all that. Yeah.
Wow. So door knocking, it can seem like it's daunting, but it really isn't. There are a lot of nice people that you meet on a regular basis, and it's
kind of fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And they're looking to know more about, your candidacy. Mm-hmm. So on the app, it'll have the particular house that you're going to, and it should have listed in there those people who have voted. Mm-hmm. and their voting records. Mm-hmm. And so when you go and speak with them, it kind of helps you to know how to address them. Mm-hmm. And so you can go to a house and tell them who you are. My name is Chad Bobo, and I'm running for state office here in District 60, and I would appreciate your support. If you'd like to know more about me, here's my information. Mm-hmm. and I'll hand them what's called a push card. Mm-hmm. And it'll go through what my agenda is and just a little bit of my background that you can fit into a card. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so from there, you mark that, you take whatever information that they give you. If they say that they'll vote for you, that's great. Mm-hmm. If they say that they'll take a yard sign of yours, that's even better. Mm-hmm. And you can also, and what'll put the icing on the cake is if they say, hey, I'd like to donate to your campaign. Mm-hmm. And so, and there's also a space for them to do that as well on the website.
And the app is given to us from like Chad's campaign would actually give you access to that app. You would just use it on your own phone, but you would download it. You would have a user login and all that. And it's all just right there on your own phone. And so you have a particular neighborhood that you're going to cover that day, and you go with people. You never go alone. We assign you a few people to accompany you, and you just go out for the day and meet people. And I thought, Chad, that I would hate that. I really thought I would hate it. I can't believe how much I loved it.
Yes.
It was actually a lot of fun. And just the things people will share with you and tell you, and you have opportunity to meet more of your neighbors.
Right.
And hear what's on their mind. Like that was a lot of what we would do when we would go out. We would say, is there anything on your mind that you would want me to know? Anything concerning you? What's your top concern right now?
Side note, this same walking app, that's the same app that you would use during making phone calls. Mm-hmm. So there's a button on the app for door knocking. There's another one for phone calls.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're auto dialers. So you're not having to sit and punch numbers. Right. Yeah. It's like the app dials it for you, and then you speak. And so yeah, there's a little place on there for you to just keep a record of, did you reach them? Did you get a voicemail?
Also, it doesn't use your number.
Right. Yeah. So we've got there's a system for all this.
Yes.
And it's easy and it's fun, and, and Chad's going to need us. And if you're not in Chad's district and you're watching, I know we have women watching from all around the country.
Sure.
They can reach out to their local GOP office. Mm-hmm. And would that be probably the best place for them to go if they say, I want to raise my hand, I'd like to go do some door knocking, in other territories? Would you recommend them getting in touch with the GOP office?
I would recommend them getting in contact with their GOP office if they're looking to knock doors in their particular state. Mm-hmm. If they're looking to give to my campaign, they wouldn't necessarily have to do that. Just go to my website, chadbobo.com. Yeah. But if they would like to make phone calls mm-hmm. For my campaign, they would just need to go to my to my website as well.
Yeah. And if you live in another state or another district, you can still make calls on Chad's behalf.
Yes.
Like I said, you're not using your own phone number. But I was saying, like, those women who don't live in your district, they're going to go door knock for their representatives and their candidate.
I would start with the local party.
Yeah. So Republican Party of such and such county. You can Google it and look it up, and they'd be more than happy to hear from you. Most GOP offices are not going to turn you away, and they're going to really appreciate your help. So I'm going to give you the last word. Anything that you would like to leave in the minds and the hearts of the ladies watching today?
First of all, I just want to say you're doing yourself a big favor by listening to Diane's podcast.
Thank you.
This is not just particularly this podcast, but helping women has been a passion of hers even before she ran for office. So thank you for that. I'd also like to say that I do appreciate all that our women do to help, whether they're running for office, whether they're helping their husbands, because my wife is my biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
And so I so much appreciate her in that manner. If you would like to know more about my campaign, please reach out to chadbobo.com, and it'll probably be me that'll be connecting with you. So I certainly do appreciate our time here today.
Yeah, I appreciate having you.
Yes.
We are cheering for you here in Lady Up America, and can't wait to celebrate your win on election night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, ladies, I will be back with you tomorrow. Again, I just want to remind you, go to chadbobo.com, donate, sign up to help. Let's get him elected. All right. And y'all have a great rest of your day. Lady up.
Lady up around this town. Lady up around this town. Victory on the battleground.